Ezekiel. In the 13th year, in the 15th day of the 4th month, while I was among the exiles by the Kevar River, the heavens were opened. I saw visions of God. On the 5th day of the month, which was during the 5th year of the king Jochian's exile, the word of Adonai came to the Kohen Ezekiel, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Casdim, by the Kevar River. There the hand of Adonai was on him. I looked and saw a windy storm approaching from the north, and a huge cloud with flashing fire, glowing brightly all around, and the color of the gleaming amber from within the fire. Inside there appeared to be 4 living creatures that looked like human beings. Each one had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, with feet like calves' hooves. They glittered like burnished bronze. Beneath their wings, they had human hands on their 4 sides. The 4 of them had faces and wings as follows. They touched one another with their 4 wings. They did not turn when they moved, but each one moved straight forward. As for the appearance of their faces, they had human faces in front. Each of the 4 had a lion's face on the right. Each of the 4 had a bull's face on the left, and each of the 4 had an eagle's face towards the rear. Thus their faces. As for their wings, each had 2 that stretched upward and joined those of others, and 2 more that covered their bodies. Each living creature moved in the direction of any of its faces. In whatever direction the Spirit wanted to go, they went, without turning as they moved. Thus the appearance of the living creatures. With them was something that looked like fiery coals burning the way torches do. With the fire flashing here and there between the living creatures, the fire had a brilliance, and out of the fire went lightning. The living creatures kept speeding here and there like flashes of lightning. As I gazed at the living creatures, I saw wheels on the ground, one next to each other, the 4-faced living creatures. All 4 wheels looked the same. Their inner parts gleamed like beryl, and their structure seemed to be that of a wheel inside of a wheel. When they moved, they would go in any of the 4 directions without turning as they moved. Their rims were tall and fearsome, because the rims of all 4 were full of eyes all around. When the living creatures moved, the wheels moved along with them. And when the creatures were lifted off the ground, the wheels went with them. Wherever the Spirit was to go, they went in the direction the Spirit wanted to go. The wheels were lifted up next to them because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. When the living creatures moved, the wheels moved. When the former stood still, the latter stood still. And when the former were lifted off the ground, the wheels were lifted next to them, because the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Over the heads of the living creatures was what appeared to be a dome, glittering like ice. It was awesome, spread out over their heads above them. Under the dome, each had a pair of wings spread out straight toward those of others, and each had a pair which covered his body. I heard the sound of their wings when they moved. It was like the sound of rushing water, like the voice of Shaddai, like the noise of a tumultuous crowd of army. When they stopped, they lowered their wings. Whenever there was a sound from above the dome over their heads, they stopped and lowered their wings. Above the dome that was over their heads was something like a throne that looked like sapphire. On it, above it, was what appeared to be a person. I saw what looked like gleaming, amber-colored fire radiating from what appeared to be his waist upward. Downward from what appeared to be his waist, I saw what looked like fire, giving a brilliant light all around him. His brilliance around him looked like a rainbow in a cloud on a rainy day. This was how the appearance of the glory of Adonai looked. When I saw it, I fell on my face, and I heard the voice of someone speaking. He said to me, "Human being, stand up. I want to speak with you." As he spoke with me, a spirit entered me and put me on his feet. And I heard him who was speaking to me. He said, Human being, I am sending you to the people of Israel, the nations of rebels who have rebelled against me. They and their ancestors have been transgressing against me to this very day, because they are defiant, hard-hearted children. I am sending you, and you are to tell them, here is what Adonai Elohim says. Whether they listen or not, this rebellious house will still know that a prophet has been among them. As for you, human being, don't be afraid of them or their words. Even if briars and thorns surround you and you sit among scorpions, don't be afraid of their words or be upset by their looks, for they are a rebellious house. You are to speak my words to them whether they listen or not, for they are very rebellious. But you, human being, hear what I am telling you. Don't be rebellious like the rebellious house. Open your mouth and eat what I'm about to give you. When I looked, there was a hand stretched out to me, holding a scroll. He spread it out in front of me, and it was covered with writing front and back. Written on it were laments, dirges, and woes. He said to me, human being, eat what you see in front of you, eat this scroll. Then go and speak to the house of Israel. So I opened my mouth, and he gave me the scroll to eat as he said. Human being, eat the scroll I am giving you. Fill your insides with it. When I ate it, it tasted sweet as honey. Human being, he said to me, go to the house of Israel and speak my words to them. For you are not being sent to a people with a difficult language and unintelligible speech, but to the house of Israel, not to many people with difficult languages and unintelligible speech, whose words you can't understand when you hear them. Without doubt, if I send you to them, they would listen to you. But the house of Israel will not be willing to listen to you because they weren't willing to listen to me, since all the house of Israel are obstinate and hard-hearted. However, I am making you as defiant and obstinate as they are. Yes, I am making your resoluteness harder than flint, as hard as a diamond. So don't be afraid of them or depressed by how they look at you, because they are a rebellious house. Then he said to me, human being, receive in your heart and hear with your ears all the words that I speak to you. Then go to the exiles, to your countrymen, and speak to them. Tell them, here is what Adonai Elohim says, whether they listen or not. When he said to me, human being, receive in your heart and hear with your ears all the words that I speak to you. And go to the exiles, to your countrymen, and speak to them. Tell them, here is what Adonai Elohim says, whether they listen or not. A spirit lifted me up, and I heard behind me a very loud sound. Blessed be the glory of Adonai from this place. It was the sound of the wings of the living creatures as they beat against each other, and the sound of the wheels next to them, a very loud sound. So a spirit lifted me up and took me away. I went in bitterness, and the heat of my spirit, and the hand of Adonai strong on me. I went to the exiles who were living in Tel Aviv by the Kebar River and stayed with them in the stupefied state for 7 days. After 7 days, the word of Adonai came to me, human being, I have appointed you to be a watchman for the house of Israel. When you hear the word from my mouth, you are to warn them for me. If I say to a wicked person, you will certainly die, you fail to warn him, to speak and warn the wicked person to leave his wicked way and save his life, and that wicked person will die guilty, and I will hold you responsible for his death. On the other hand, if you warn the wicked person and he doesn't turn from his wickedness or his wicked way, then he will surely die guilty, but you will have saved your own life. Similarly, when a righteous person turns away from his righteousness and commits wickedness, I will place a stumbling block before him. He will die. Because you failed to warn him, he will die in his sin. His righteous acts which he did will not be remembered. I will hold you responsible for his death. But if you warn the righteous person that a righteous person should not sin, and he doesn't sin, then he will certainly live. Because he took the warning, you too will have saved your life. The hand of Adonai came on me there. He said to me, get up, go out to the valley, and I will speak with you there. So I got up and I went to the valley. The Glory of Adonai was there, like the glory I had seen in the Kivar River. I fell on my face. A spirit entered me and put me on my feet. And he spoke with me and said to me, "Go, shut yourself inside your house, human being. You are going to be bound with ropes, unable to go out among the people. I will make your tongue stick to the roof of your mouth, so that you will be mute, unable to reprove them, for they are a rebellious house. When I speak with you, I will open your mouth, and you will say to them, 'This is what Adonai Elohim says.' Whoever is inclined to listen will listen, and whoever is inclined to refuse will refuse, but they are a rebellious house.